So we're talking this week about Rick and Morty, a cartoon on Adult Swim created by Dan Harmon, most famous for creating Community and being fired from Community and being brought back because apparently it was very necessary. I haven't watched Community in a while.
Yeah, me neither.
And Justin Roiland, who's most famous for screaming unacceptable in that one episode of Adventure Time, and by that one I mean everyone he's been in. Voice the Lemon Grab, and before that he was on Fish Hooks as the one with the braces. I couldn't get into Fish Hooks.
That was him? Yeah, Fish Hooks was pretty mediocre.
Yeah, and he also had a guest spot in a Gravity Falls as Blendin Blandin in the Time Traveler's Pig episode.
Yes, he was great.
Yeah, so it's a co-created show by two crazy dudes.
Two wild and crazy guys.
So the basic premise of the show, if you haven't watched it, it was inspired by the shorts Harmon and Roiland did for Channel 101.
Was Harmon involved in those, or was it just Roiland?
Harmon actually helped create Channel 101.
Huh.
So I think Roiland, it was really like his idea for the channel, and then Harmon was like there because
he had money, I guess.
Channel 101 is a short film monthly festival in Los Angeles, like a nonprofit thing. It's taken from these shorts that Roiland did called The Real Animated Adventures of Doc and Marty, which were inspired by, Back to the Future's Doc Brown and Marty McFly, where Doc Brown was like this drunk asshole and Marty was just like along for the ride.
I don't want to do this, Doc.
Because the idea came from the fact that it's like, why does this 14-year-old kid hang out with this old man? Why is he his best friend? And then, they made this short. And then later, they pitched it as the show, Rick and Morty, and sort of changed the formula up a bit. So it's this crazy guy, Rick, who's the grandpa to Morty, not so smart 14-year-old, who takes him on these, like, crazy, harebrained, wild, interdimensional adventures.
Rick is a scientific genius, but also an alcoholic and a dickhead.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also very depressed and self-loathing. He's sort of a stand-in for Harmon himself, even philosophically, which we'll get into.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
Yeah, so, it's got, like, it's also taken some inspiration from, like, Doctor Who, and also, like, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Though I would say it's more Hitchhiker's Guide than Doctor Who.
Well, just because they're both comedy, for one thing.
Not just comedy, but Doctor Who's kind of a positive show. The Doctor likes humanity, like he admires humans. That's why he's like always trying to keep the peace and do nice things and stuff. Whereas Hitchhiker's Guide was about how the universe doesn't care about you, and if it did, it probably hates you.
Yeah.
And that's very much in vain with Rick and Morty.
Yeah, absolutely.
And also sort of fills the void in your heart that has been left by Futurama. It's obvious, it's a very different feel, but they'll go to similar places at times.
Though Rick and Morty takes what Futurama did and just pushes it way more than I think Futurama ever did.
That's my favorite thing about the show, honestly. How it pushes every concept it comes up with.
It doesn't care. Harmon was all depressed after Community, so he was like, I don't care. Let's just keep going.
Wubba-lubba-dub-dub!
And the central joke of the show is that it's really funny to constantly say the name of the person that you're talking to.
Morty. Oh, Rick!
Yeah, and if we didn't mention, Roiland voices both Morty and Rick, and it's amazing.
Yeah, Morty is like the voice you'd expect from him. It's like the thing from Fish Hooks or a Lemon Grabby type of high-pitched, cracky voice.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Rick is actually just a Dan Harmon impression.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I read, and it's like,
So why didn't Dan just do it? Did he not want to?
I guess not. Because it was Roland's, idea,
And he's also more of an actor.
And part of the acting for him, it's this very schizophrenic thing, because Rick is always like, you gotta do this, Morty. Come on, Morty. Lick my balls, Morty. You gotta do this. Come on, I know you don't want to do this, but you gotta do this. Morty was like, I don't know, Rick. I don't want to do this, Rick.
That's a central construct of every conversation is you gotta do this terrible thing. I don't wanna.
And I'd love to see him in the booth doing that, because it's a very sort of bipolar dynamic, but, it sort of breaks down what it's like in your own brain sometimes, because you have the one side telling you to do a thing and the other side that's like, I don't So I think that it is really cool that it is voiced by him, both roles.
Yeah, it makes me wonder. I mean, obviously, when they're talking over each other, they can't, but I do wonder how much of it is done, like, with him having a conversation with himself. That's
done Burns Smithers style.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Roiland said that he does Rick's or Morty's. I think he says he does one of their things first, and then he'll kind of go back and do the other side. But I think a lot of it feels very improvised.
Oh, it's very improv. Like, a lot of times he'll stutter as the characters to leave it in and then animate it.
Yeah, and it's great.
And
Rick is always burping.
Yeah.
I want to know how, like, can he burp on command, or is that, like, done in post? Like, with some sort of, like, effect put onto it? Because I want to know how bad I should feel that I can't do that.
I think he does it. Like, I know Nikki's pretty good at burping on command, not under pressure though. But
yeah, like I need to have eaten something. I can't do it like right now, but
like I can because the way he delivers the line, where like in the middle of a sentence he stops burping, like it feels very natural.
Yeah, like that's why it's like a word, but he's burping, but he's still saying it. Like he didn't stop burping, keep talking. He just burps in the middle of speaking, just rolls with it, and I'm just like enamored by that.
So I feel like he must drink like a lot of soda or something before, just to make sure he's got gas to work with. Other characters include the rest of Morty's family. Rick is Morty's grandpa.
Maternal grandpa. So Morty lives with his mother, Beth, and his father. What's his father's name? Jerry. Voiced by Sarah Chalk, Elliot from Scrubs, and
Chris Parnell.
Chris Parnell, who's Dr. He's an SNL alum, right?
Yes.
He was Dr. Spaceman on 30 Rock. He's Cyril Figgis on Archer.
Yeah, and they're hilarious. And they have a very dysfunctional sort of relationship. And then Morty also has an older sister, Summer, who's probably the most normal character.
Voiced by Spencer, a woman with a man's name. Spencer something?
Yeah, Spencer...
Grammer? Spencer Grammer? Spencer Grammer?
I don't know.
Spencer Grammer, yeah. Sorry, Spencer Grammer. And she can be really funny, too, Summer.
Oh, no, Summer's one of my favorites. I love Summer.
She's got so much to deal with.
Mm-hmm. But she takes it all in so much stride. Honestly, everybody does. That's another really thing about the show. The tone is that everybody is just, like, since they have to live with Rick, everybody is just so used to the horse shit. Like, even when they're freaking out, it's probably not enough realistically, but it's just so hilarious.
Yeah. Like, Harmon said that Beth is one of his favorite characters, or is his favorite character, and he said that she's sort of like the central figure because, you ask the question, why the hell would you let this crazy man take your son out on these dangerous adventures? And, he and Roiland sort of came up with this idea where it's like, well, we know that Rick sort of left Beth's mom when she was kind of young, and like now he's finally back in her life and she wants to keep him in her life, and obviously Rick doesn't want her to kick him out either, and he wants to be in the family. So it's this really weird dynamic where, she's angry that her dad is doing all this stuff with her son, but at the same time she's just happy he's there. And, like, she sort of romanticized him even though he wasn't really in her life because, like, even though he was sort of the bad deadbeat parent who wasn't around, like, you tend to be like, I bet he left for a good reason or whatever. Like, Harmon has this whole, like, backstory thing in his head about why things are the way they are in their family. And it's a pretty real family.
Yeah. The parents are married because the mom got knocked up at 17, so it was, they barely get along. And she's a horse heart surgeon. Yeah, because it took less school than becoming a people surgeon. Yeah,
and she always feels kind of insecure about that because she's really smart, but like because she made this mistake with sleeping with this guy, and then Jerry is just such a
loser tool.
He's such a loser tool. Yeah, I mean.
But it's like you relate to him to honestly, like he's the most normal. Like he's like a sitcom dad, but it's like a sitcom dad in the real world. Where because sitcom dads are so stupid, but they always come out on top. And I think Jerry thinks he's that, and just the world never works out in the way he expects it to.
No, I mean I believe he works in advertising.
Yeah.
And we learn that he's really, really bad at it.
And he's between jobs.
Yeah, like he gets fired in an episode and then it's between jobs. And then Summer, she is a pretty normal teenager, like she wants to be. She gets a little jealous of Morty and Rick's relationship, and so she feels like she wants to be validated sometimes. And then, of course, she's always, like, stressed out about her parents' relationship, especially when she finds out that like, she was, like, unwanted as a kid and all this drama and stuff. But, she's funny, and she can be really resourceful and clever in her own right when push comes to shove, and she gets to sort of be the star sometimes.
Her like, because she does go on a few adventures with Rick, and whenever it's the two of them, it's always really fun because it's a fresh dynamic, and I love those two.
And Morty, like, we haven't actually talked about him that much. He's 14.
14.
Yeah.
He's hyper pubescent, uncomfortable in his own skin, pretty dumb.
He's 14.
Yeah, like he's a brutally accurate depiction of a 14-year-old. Doesn't have a single thing going for him in his life.
No. He's nice.
He's well-meaning.
Sometimes, but then there was that one time, like, because he can also just, he can also make bad decisions, and just like that one episode where he literally wants Rick to make like a quote-unquote love potion.
Oh, yeah.
And it's pretty much just, and then Rick even calls it just like a straight up like a date rape drug, essentially.
Yeah. The only other recurring characters we got are Jessica, which is Morty's crush. She is not really a character. She's just kind of there for Morty to be like, oh, I wish I could touch her soft skin.
Yeah, and like she's established as like her own person.
Yeah.
In a few episodes,
but she's just not in Morty's world.
Yeah. No. Yeah. They also keep in mind that Morty's perspective of her is idyllic.
Yeah.
But she's her own person beyond that.
And the only other, there's a couple other people. The most notable for me is Mr. Goldenfold, Morty's math teacher.
Mr. Goldenfold's pretty hilarious.
God.
Insanely funny. Every line is.
I don't know what his deal is.
I love that part where Morty's accidentally sleep groping him, and it's like, it's not my fault this is happening.
Yeah.
5 more minutes of this, and I'm gonna get mad.
That's pretty. That was honestly like his first joke, like in the whole show, and that really set the tone for him. And they did not fail to deliver.
And this show's had a lot of like guest stars. Tom Kenny played a hilarious character in the finale. What was his name?
The Birdman, or
no, he was the spanking one.
Squanchy.
Squanchy.
Hey, I'm squanching in here.
You've got Morris LaMarche, John Oliver, David Cross, Claudia Black, Virginia Hay, Rob Paulson, Jess Harnell, Phil Hendry, Dana Carvey, Aislinn Paul, Cassie Steele, a bunch of other people. The guest starred. Lots of fun stuff. There's only been 11 episodes.
Yeah, it's been one season. It's been picked up for a second one.
Good.
Yeah, it's picked up for second one. It's going to have the same time, 10:30 p.m. Mondays on Adult Swim. It's a full 22-minute cartoon show.
Yeah. It's not as good looking as a lot of the other shows we've talked about by virtue of being on Adult Swim, but it is better looking than most stuff on Adult Swim.
Yeah, I feel like since now that they've really proven themselves, because also they only got 11 episodes, it's not even like the standard 13, so I feel like maybe Adult Swim was like not sure, but I think now they'll probably get they'll probably get a bigger budget. It might look a little better as like each season probably.
Yeah, the backgrounds.
The backgrounds are really what's exceptional.
Yeah.
Character animation is pretty standard stuff.
Yeah. You get some weird stuff, like their pupils are like fuzzy.
Their pupils are like little asterisks.
Yeah.
I kind of like it.
Yeah.
It's because it's almost, it's like, it's not, but it's reminiscent of that old home movies Dr. Cat Squiggle vision. Kind of.
Yeah,
a
little
just not
bit.
as sporadic. It's just sort of like, it looks like you dragged your pen too slowly over the tablet and it got a janky line.
Hey, kinda.
It does. It would be fun if they push it more. Like, sometimes they do that, like, lip droopy thing.
I love that. That's my favorite expression, is like the little butt lip.
Yeah. And Rick is always kind of has this drooly vomit bile slime just sort of coming out of his mouth. It's really gross. Yeah, he's quite a character. So, do we want to get into episodes?
Let's start talking about episodes, and I think as we do that, we'll come up with more themes and shit to talk about.
Yeah, because there's definitely some themes. I know what your two guys' favorite episode is.
Rick's D-Minutes.
Rick's D-Minutes.
What I love about Rick's D-Minutes is that it really pushes the concept of improvised dialogue. Like Rick and Morty stuff, the two characters, their dialogue is largely improvised. The other characters, not as much. In this episode, Rick has this device that allows him to watch TV from every parallel dimension. They've got like billions of channels.
Infinite television.
And they were watching shows and commercials from other dimensions that's just Roiland improvising bits. Like, there's this one where he comes up with a trailer for an action movie, and it's just him doing, like, the what was that trailer got that in a world? What's that guy's name?
Oh, shoot, I used to know his name. He passed away.
Don LaFontaine.
Yeah, that guy.
He's doing, like, a Don LaFontaine. It's like, two brothers. They're the only ones who can stand in between an invasion and none. Like, he just keeps adding stuff, and eventually...
But wait, it's not over. Old ladies show up, and they're mad. Like, it's...
Yeah, it's like...
Yeah, it's great.
He keeps changing the title of the movie, and at the end he just cracks, and they leave the laugh in there. It's just called Two Brothers.
It's just called Two Brothers.
Yeah.
And, like, other people in the background in the booth are laughing.
Yeah. It reminds me of... The reason why I like it is it reminds me of this thing that I really like that used to be on Penny Arcade TV back when Penny Arcade TV had other people on it and not just Penny Arcade and was good. The Blamamations with Scott and Chris.
Yeah, I never watched those.
It's basically these two guys, like they're
Scott from
two web cartoonist guys, Scott McCurts of PvP and Chris Schraub of Chainsaw Suit and Star Slip and
he's freaking hilarious.
Brood Hollow,
yeah.
Yeah, I'm basically in love with that dude.
I'm in love with both of those dudes. They're like my favorite.
They're super funny and they have a great dynamic, but it's basically them just doing these skits and they improv bits of it and they leave in like all of their mistakes and like will animate around the mistakes. And like, the animation's terrible. It's like stuff they put together in Flash, like it looks like people who have no idea how to use Flash working really hard to make it work.
Like me.
But yeah, it's them, just riffing and leaving all them messing up, and then you get to hear them build the bit. You don't just get the finished product.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of that in this episode.
Yeah. In a bit of all of them, but in this episode more than anything else.
I think my favorite, like my favorite skits in Rick's D-Minutes are the fake doors one because it's just like. Because it's just like there's this like full minute and a half sequence where it's like nothing and they're just like waiting to see where it goes, and then the baby legs cop one because I think that's another one where you can really tell it's improv because I think whoever voices baby legs and Rob Paulson who voices normal legs, like you can tell that because they're in the booth and they have no visuals, they have to like riff on each other and explain what's going on. It's like. This is the noise I make when I'm running. It's like I got your baby legs. I'm chasing the bad guy, and it's like they're telling the fucking story in the booth.
Yeah. And then there's also this episode's also very touching.
Yeah.
Because while Rick and Morty are watching these awesome shows, they were flipping around and Jerry saw an alternate dimension where he was like a movie star. And of course he gets like all crazy and it's like, I need to know about what my life could have been, alternate dimensions, and Beth and Summer sort of join him. So Rick gives them this visor that lets them see what their lives could have been like in other dimensions. And this is where we find out that Summer
was an
accidental child, and that, that's the reason why Beth and Jerry were together, and like there's this whole drama about like what their lives would have been like if they hadn't got together and hadn't had this kid. And then it's just got these really dark, funny jokes where Summer is just like, for like every 10 that her parents have, she'll have like 1, and it's just them playing like Yahtzee.
Yeah, because in most alternate dimensions, the parents have their own lives, so they never got together, and she never existed.
Yeah. And then, of course, they realize that like they are meant for each other or whatever. And like Morty has this really nice heart-to-heart with Summer about like...
Which is actually a callback to an earlier episode about, about all the, the kind of chaos... The what?
The parallel thems and all the chaos of the extra universe.
Yeah,
how,
chaos
how
theory.
nothing matters.
Butterfly effect.
Yeah, that's one of the themes. Nothing matters.
Yeah.
Ultimately, like, the system is fucked and the system will fuck you. But ultimately, it kind of doesn't matter because, like, even if you're above it, even if you know everything that's going on, there's not that much you can do about it. You're still going to sit down and watch TV and be passive about it. It's just really a matter of accepting your life and enjoying what there is to enjoy and not getting too stressed out about it,
And also from that episode, I really like the ants in my eyes Johnson.
Oh, yeah. That was really...
Johnson, I can't see anything. I have no feeling. It's a rare condition, and they just light him on fire.
Yeah, I think that episode is a really good, cross-section of everything that show does so well and does so right. It makes it such an important, great show. One of my favorite episodes is Meeseeks and Destroy.
That's a good one, too. I'm Mr. Meeseeks! Hi, look at me!
People don't know what we're talking about. In this episode, there are two plots. One of the plot is that, Rick has this thing called a Meeseeks box. It's a cube that spawns these helpful creatures called Meeseeks, who if you give them one task to do, they'll help you do this task and then they'll disappear. And then Jerry gets a hold of them. Meanwhile, Rick and Morty are going on an adventure, and Morty wants to lead the adventure this time because Rick is always bossing him around, and Morty feels like he's a piece of crap, and Rick doesn't respect him, which is another recurring thing that happens a lot. Mm-hmm. The Meeseeks themselves are so funny.
Yeah. It's Roiland at his screechiest.
And he's just screaming, and Jerry asks...
But usually, delightfully, but it's a happy person. It's just a loud, happy person.
Yeah, he's like, I'm gonna help you!
Hey, Mr.
Meeseeks!
The thing is, Jerry asks them to take 2 strokes off his golf game. And the first Meeseeks can't do it, so he summons another Meeseek to help him. And eventually, they can't do it. Eventually, there's 25 of them. And they're not supposed to live for more than an hour because they're supposed to be really helpful.
Yeah, they're supposed to get their task done and go.
But Jerry's just so beyond help, so they become manic and all existential.
Oh, so funny. Well, Tom Kenny's also in this episode. And then, and I really feel for Morty in this one, because he really wants to be in charge of this adventure. Rick is just putting him down. And this is actually one of the first times we actually get, a moment where we see Rick actually, show that he does have this level of love and compassion for Morty. I won't, sort of say, what happens, but Morty runs into some trouble on his own, and, Rick becomes aware of it and, reacts right away in, a caring human way that he doesn't always do. Because, Rick has a different way of perceiving people because there are, infinite versions of the same person. So for him, everybody's kind of replaceable in a way.
Yeah.
But he does care about Morty. We see that in this episode, and we also see that in Close Encounters.
Close Rick
Counters of the Rick kind.
Yeah, halfway through the season, let's put Rick in every episode.
Yeah.
So it's, you got Rick Potion number 9, Ricksty Minutes, Something Ricked This Way Comes, Close Rick Counters of the Rick kind, and
Ricksy Business.
Ricksy Business.
Ricksy Business.
The best.
Yep. In Close Rick Counters was a very high concept episode. It opens up the idea of a multiverse and the idea of all the different incarnations of Rick coming together and forming a council of Ricks. And there's also all these Mortys.
Which is fascinating because the whole thing about Rick is that he's fuck the man, and yet all these alternate Ricks.
It's ridiculous.
Creating a system, and he's all anti-system. All of Dan Harmon's stuff is man versus system.
This is the episode in which Rick being a Harmon impression is most obvious.
Yeah, where he's you guys are a bunch of assholes. This doesn't help anything. This isn't doing anything.
There's just more bureaucracy.
Yeah. And it's funny because, we associate Rick with this fucking rebel without a cause, and then like all these alternate Ricks are just a bunch of mindless
Ricks.
Ricks. That's a great one. They're all great. Like, I mean, it's only 11 episodes, and they pack so much into each one of them.
Oh yeah, it's so solid. It's such a solid show.
And, you know, you can watch anyone in any order. Like, there's not that much continuity that'll confuse you. But at the same time, they do call back to other episodes. Like, they acknowledge stuff that has happened in other episodes without making it that you have to watch everything in order. Which is, you know, ideal for late-night TV.
Yeah, it's pretty episodic, but they definitely have, like, a world they've built.
Yeah, definitely. And they're gonna keep building it. And, like, I can't wait to see what they do. Because it could do anything. I mean, Rick can access any dimension, any timeline, any world, any universe, anything, you know. And there's no end to Morty's stupidity or the dad. It's like the pilot is also a really not the pilot, Lawnmower Dog. It's also a really funny one for me, like as a dog owner.
Yeah, like me and I both had the same. We both felt kind of guilty at the end of it.
Yeah,
it really threw into question that whole dog-human relationship.
Yeah, and that one, you know, there's always two plots. You know, the dumb family, you know, arguing over Ritz crackers or whatever, and then Rick and Morty going on an adventure. And in this one, Rick gives Jerry a device that increases their dog's intelligence. And then the dog becomes self-aware and, like, becomes really resentful of humanity and creates this intelligent dog race, and it becomes this big thing. And at the end, I was like, I feel bad for having a dog. Maybe this isn't what we should do. Maybe we shouldn't domesticate animals and put them in our homes.
And then meanwhile, Rick and Morty were doing Inception.
Yeah.
And mocking it, like, you know... It's like that stupid Inception movie. You're like, Inception is not stupid. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
My Morty impression is more Grunkle Stan.
Yeah, honestly, sometimes I do have to watch myself between my Grunkle Stan and my Rick. But there was a Vine with Alex Hirsch and him using like poorly drawn marker board drawings of Grunkle Stan and Rick, and it was a stupid Vine, and I loved it that they existed.
Yeah, Alex Hirsch is good at Vine.
Yeah, Alex Hirsch is hilarious on Twitter. The show is like, if you really read into it, there's like a lot going on. Which is like the whole concept of it. And Rick's whole philosophy, like he's like really kind of miserable in a way because he knows so much, but it doesn't really benefit him. It just sort of makes his life feel less meaningful because he can't really form attachments to people when he knows that there's 1,000 different versions of them anyway. You ask Rick, you know, do you even care about me? For him, that's a stupid question, because what even is you? You know, like, you're just one construct in 1/1,000,000th of other constructs.
There's a billion of people identical to you.
Yeah.
I mean, there's one episode, and this is, I suppose, a spoiler, so cover yours for, like, the next 120 seconds. But, you know, there's one episode in which they have a problem and they can't solve it. So what they do is they abandon that dimension and go to another dimension where they recently died, and they just live there instead. And it's like as far as Rick can tell,
it's the realest shit.
Yeah,
yeah. As far as Rick can tell, it's the same thing. It's an extremely similar dimension. The only difference is that they died at one right before all that mistake happened. But you know, Rick has Morty, you know, burying their bodies. It's very existential for Morty, but like you can tell that Rick has been through this so many times. He's completely desensitized.
Yeah, nothing phases Rick. Nothing surprises him at all.
Yeah,
really.
That's what I love. That's what I love about Rick. I love, like, I will always go on record saying my favorite characters are the characters who are like they talk super big game, and like everybody, like no one wants to but no one wants to admit that like the game they're spitting and being so egotistical about is actually real. Like, Rick's brilliant and amazing and can like fix a problem. Like, half the time problems only persist because Rick doesn't feel like fixing them.
Yeah, and it you know, part of what Rick being Dan Harmon is like this idea that, you know, he is insane, he's mentally ill, he has all these problems, and yet, is he? Maybe he's just smarter and more into it than the rest of us, and he only seems crazy and insane because he actually knows more than we do and gets it.
Maybe you guys are the prisoners and we're the ones who are free.
You know, Dan Harmon's a crazy guy, and he's
apparently
very intelligent.
And apparently he's very difficult to work with. He's kind of an asshole. That's why he was fired from Community.
And there are plenty of people like this, you know, these people who are like too smart for their own good. And that's really what Rick is.
And from this interview I was saying, apparently Justin Roiland's a similar way. Like he's too intense to work in what he's... did he work on fish hooks other than as a voice actor? Do you know, Tooch?
I doubt it. A lot of Cartoon Network alum worked on fish hooks. The thing with fish hooks was, like, there's the guy who created fish hooks literally only has a creator credit. Every other important stage of that show's development was made by somebody who's actually good at coming up with cartoons. But I think since it wasn't their idea, like, they didn't want to work on it that well. Because, like, these are the fucking directors. Okay, wait, Justin Roiland? Okay, he was also a writer on it. But these are the directors of freaking Fish Hooks. Max Adams, C.H. Greenblatt, Tom Warburton, and William Rice. That's fucking, like, alum. And they cranked out some mediocre Disney Channel horseshit.
Yeah.
And then, actually, funnily enough, sorry to go on a non-Rick and Morty divergence, but that's my job on this podcast.
Yeah.
Because Maxwell Adams is also recently working on a crowdfunded project for the internet called Dead Meat, and in one of his, like, I think it was like just sort of like it was like a New Year's message, and in his New Year's message he gave like a summary of his life up to that point, and he didn't name drop anything, but there was like a time in his life where he was having a really shitty time at where he was working that fits snugly into Fish Hooks' run. That's all I'll say. So,
you know what's interesting about Fish Hooks now that I think about it? Visually, it seems like a precursor to the mixed media animation of Gumball, just not used to anything interesting.
Yeah, honestly, that's what it was. It came from that same wheelhouse as like Chowder and Flapjack, but without any of the real creativity. Because I think it was honestly somebody's really elementary, surface level attempt at a SpongeBob. I think someone at Disney went, "Hey, SpongeBob's
popular." Have you guys heard of this new show, SpongeBob? It's really big.
No, but I mean, like, just because, like, it came out around 2010, around the same time Adventure Time came out, so there wasn't an Adventure Time yet, so SpongeBob was still the big fucking cheese. And so someone probably went, okay, we need to finally fucking figure out why these kids love the SpongeBobs. And then some asshole went, is it because it's about fish and stuff? And someone probably went, maybe, we'll try it. And that was Fish Hooks. But anyway, back to Rick and Morty.
Yeah, Dan had he kind of summarized what we've been saying about Rick's character. Smart people are insane. So are politicians. People who justify bad quality say the same things that Doctor Who says. Rick he's seen a lot. He's got bigger fish to fry. And we've all felt like that. We've all been standing in line at the bank with 5 people in front of us and 6 people behind us, and we just don't get it. I just don't understand how much shit we have to do that day. And we all lose our cool inside or outside our heads when people just aren't matching up with what we know to be the bigger issue here. So, yeah, that's basically Rick, and Morty's just kind of along for the ride and feels inferior a lot.
And has often grown up faster than he should have to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, I mean, he had to bury his own body.
He also had a kid.
Oh, he had a kid because he had sex with a sex robot. That was
a RoboCop sex robot.
It was a blow-up RoboCop. And yeah, he had a kid which matured in the course of a day. Yeah. That's my favorite line from that episode was, I'm an alien?
You know, and Rick's always kind of giving Morty a hard time, and yet he needs Morty. And Morty's always like, well, Rick, you know, why do you gotta do this shit to me all the time? You know, Rick, like, I don't have to put up with this, you know, I can just, you know, do what I want to do, you know, and Rick has this way of just, like, getting Morty to always sort of come back and without actually ever apologizing or saying, yes, Morty, I care about you.
It's kind of an abusive relationship, like,
yeah,
the way
definitely.
you word that just now.
It is. That's why Jerry is rightly concerned that this crazy man is living in his house and having an influence on his kids. But, you know, Beth is just, like, had a really weird relationship with her dad and her mom. We don't really actually know anything about Mrs. Sanchez, Beth's mom, Rick's wife that he had, which it could be interesting to go into. I'm sure they'll probably do that later because, Harmon likes Beth so much. But, Rick's just always there and, doing weird stuff and, just completely changing the family dynamic. But, it's just something that they've come to accept, because Beth doesn't want her dad to go anywhere. She just wants her dad in the house again.
It wants him to be part of her life.
Yeah. That's another thing. I'm sorry. I was just gonna say, that's another thing I love so much about Rick and Morty is it's that's real. That's something people fucking deal with, estranged parents and trying to get them back into their lives and stuff, and failing marriages and unwanted pregnancies.
Yeah.
Yeah, the show is surprisingly on point for Adult Swim. Adult Swim, so even the good stuff is, usually just it's just funny.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's just throwing a bunch of shit at the wall and hoping it makes you laugh.
I want to eventually have us talk about China, Illinois, because it's really funny, but there's less analysis.
Substance.
There's less substance to it.
Yeah, Rick and Morty is actually about stuff, and I didn't expect it to be. I was like, oh, you want me to watch this Adult Swim cartoon?
This cuss show?
Cool. I mean, it's so funny. You have no idea how funny it is. Every episode leaves me laughing hysterically to the point where, I kind of can't breathe. Those really good rib cage hurting laughs.
Yeah.
It's too damn funny.
It has no business being that funny, because, I had the same thing. I looked at Rick and Morty, and I didn't think a goddamn thing about it. I was like, okay, whatever, it's just another quote-unquote mature, meaning horrendously immature, Adult Swim Fox show that I probably won't care about, but every college douchebag will love and wear t-shirts about.
Yeah, but then people whose opinions I really respect are for serious guys, this show is incredible. This show is picking up the Futurama's torch and going in very different ways. That's something I wanted to talk about in another comparison to Futurama. I've seen this thing. I think it was, what is that fucking guy? Idea Channel?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How Futurama is an argument against transcendentalism?
Yeah.
Transcendentalism, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Oh, good. I hate the Transcendentalists.
Yeah, where the idea is, as technology gets better, all our problems will be gone. And, Futurama said,
no, we'll have the
we're
same
gonna have
damn
the same
problems.
problems. We'll just be...
We'll have more technology.
The shit will float.
Yeah.
And it'll be in space. And Rick and Morty absolutely has the same kind of thing. The technology is not as widespread. It's just this one guy, so it's not a societal thing. He has trouble. He's got all this new knowledge and this new ability, and he's so far above and ahead of the rest of humanity, but he has trouble coping with it. He's an alcoholic. He needs to put up this defensive mechanism and behaves so sociopathically in order to deal with what he's unlocked. It's very Pandora-esque.
And he just does these crazy things. When he made that little robot just to pass the butter. And the robot is so sentient. It asks him, what is my purpose? And he's like, you just pass butter. And the robot's like, that's it? And he's like, yeah, deal with it. And then the robot's just... And then the robot's just like, what? He's crazy. He goes these extra steps he doesn't have to just, I don't know, make everybody else miserable. So, yeah, I want to see an episode where he takes Beth on an adventure.
That would be cool.
I think that would be really cool.
You know what else was cool that we should talk about is the point-and-click games on AdultSwim.com. They did point-and-click adventure games. They've done 4 episodes of it. They might do more. That's what they said at the end. It's it's the end of the arc. We might do more later. I'm Grunkle Stan. But it was partially written by Mike Chapman, co-creator of Homestar Runner, the guy who didn't do any voices, and programmed by Jonathan Howe, the guy who programmed all the Vid Electric's Homestar Runner games, everything from Trogdor and beyond. The game is called Rick and Morty's Rushed License Adventure.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
It's totally free. You can play it on Adult Swim.
It's very self-aware, and again, it's all...
It's completely voiced by Roiland.
Roiland's the only guy up in... No, they got Spencer Grammer to do some stuff for
the last chapter.
But, yeah, it's just him, stuttering into a microphone. It's like, yeah, I guess I'm going to pick this up and put it in my inventory. I don't know why I would need to do this, but you're the boss. Stuff like that.
It completely deconstructs adventure format and just makes fun of it. It makes fun of you. Like, the
Yeah.
game is constantly berating you. Like, oh, really? You're going to click on that? What the fuck's that going to do? Like, really?
It's clearly part of the background.
Yeah.
I
And,
gotta
you know,
play
if,
this game.
yeah, if
Yeah.
you're jonesing for more Rick and Morty, because there's only 11 episodes, and season 2 isn't slated until... It's going to air late 2014 or early 2015.
Yeah, so who knows?
So who knows? So if you're really jonesing for more, that's like the lost episodes. So that comes highly recommended from us.
So we've been talking about Rick and Morty for a while. I think we've kind of dived. We've gone into it as much as we can. And for right now, you know, again,
Watch it.
wholehearted
Yeah.
recommendation.
DVD Blu-ray will be coming out October 7th, uncensored.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
So look forward to that.
All those
Although the only thing
F-bombs.
Yeah, I mean, they already say shit on the air, which I don't know you could do at 10:30.
Spend your muns on it so they know that it's something that'll make muns.
Adult Swim could definitely use more shows like this.
Yeah, maybe they'll put some of that money into making Toonami better.
Yeah.
Because that's out of their own pocket. Like, that's not a whole separate thing. Adult Swim does Toonami as a hobby, and I love the shit out of Toonami.
Yeah, me too.
So more success for Adult Swim means, like, more good shit overall.
Definitely.